Welcome everyone to our next AiM Sports webinar. This is a early part of our fifth season of doing these, and it's been a pleasure to do these, and it's been a learning experience for all of us. And this is just the next one in the series. And this one is a little bit different without a ton of data analysis that we're going to talk about, but it's equally an important topic that I think is something that I certainly look forward to, and I know most people do. And that is Flagtronics is the brand of the company that is putting together the technology to have displays and lights and things inside of the race cars, and being able to trigger those and have those come up and warn of yellow flags, or when the green, the checkered, all of the official information is able to get to the drivers without having to pass that through flags. And that is a physical flags, and that is such an important thing that for safety and for innovating uh, this technology and bringing it together is good for everything. So I really look forward to getting this integrated with AIM, where not only do you have the small little display for Flagtronics, which you'll still have, but we can also bring that onto the AIM devices. And secondarily to that, not only can we alarm on the AIM devices and turn on LEDs or colored screens or whatever we need to do to make it even more clear, but we can also throw that up onto our SmartyCams, where then the SmartyCam is seeing the flags and the states that are coming from the Flagtronics, and we'll talk much more deeply about that in a moment.
Mhm.
But also into the data. So then you're running along, and we're throwing a record into the data file itself, so you can see exactly when the yellows came on, or when the green came out, or whatever it happens to be. So
In real time, track these codes as they're sent.
absolutely, and record them. So not only see
Exactly.
a visual, but recording them on video and in the data files. And I think there's just power to that, and being able to get to the driver's understanding what's going on. So really looking forward to it. The uh, we've got a new co-host today for our first one. We've got AIM Tech uh, Cameron, who's going to be joining us today. He's been working on this system for pretty deeply for quite a while, and including fairly deeply just last weekend, connecting a number of them. So looking
Yeah.
forward to for him to be able to chat about this and really lead this discussion, because on this technology, it's something that I don't know a ton about. So I'm really looking forward to it as well. So thank you, Cameron, for coming. I appreciate you putting all the effort into doing this.
Thank you, Rudder. I'm stoked to give this information out. I think that it's going to be useful for a lot of end users, be able to get this integration going smoothly.
Absolutely. Let's learn a little bit about Cameron, so you know who he is, and next time you see him at the track, you can say hi. Cameron's been with AIM Sports for a little over 3 years, and uh, great to have him here. He is our representative, or he's our tech that's in the Trans Am series, which is where he works with this system quite a bit, and avid golfer. I did not know that until we started chatting for this one. A full
Fun
time
facts about myself.
and one of the most important parts, he's a full-time father. And we were chatting before we got started, and he has a kid with a bit of a runny nose and a little bit sniffles right now. So hopefully he won't start sneezing on us during this.
Let's
But
cross our fingers.
yeah,
Let's cross our
exactly.
fingers. He was a little lucky guy though. He got to stay home from school today.
He's happy, and of course, first time AIM Sports webinar co-host. So I appreciate it. A little bit more about yourself, Cameron, a motorsports background, and what brought
So
you
I,
into
I
this
don't
world.
have too much of a motorsport specific background, which would probably surprise a lot of people. But
Yeah,
being involved with AIM, I've been able to learn so much about motorsports in general across multiple platforms. And then more specifically in this last year to 6 months to a year, we're really hands-on with the Flagtronics integration with AIM. More specifically, communication in these codes and getting this information to the cameras so we can reference it in data and video
perfect.
post session.
Perfect. Glad to have you here today. Glad to have you here at AIM. You've been a great addition, and so fun to work with. So let's
Appreciate that.
let's get ready to kind of jump in and see where we go with this.
Yeah,
So
let's do it. Let's
the
do it.
we'll start off with basically where we're going to head. I always like to have an agenda or a topic screen, and I thought it was kind of funny. Cameron sent me a list of what I asked him for a list of topics he thought we ought to cover. Took a picture of his whiteboard and sent that, and I thought a little behind the scenes of how Cameron planned
I
the
was ready
webinar.
to
So
go. I was already planning this out. Little
exactly.
handy dandy whiteboard.
So Cameron, go briefly over what where we're going to go today.
Yeah, so first couple of slides are really just introductions. What are flagging systems? How are they utilized in the cars? And how are we going to be connecting to them? I also want to dive into the physical connection styles between these two units. So connecting an AiM device physically to the CAN stream of a FT200. We're going to talk about Race Studio 3 configuration, so configuring your data loggers and cameras to have this compatibility. We're also going to talk about what needs to be done to the FT200 to make sure we are sending the messages across properly so we can receive them and get all of this displayed and recorded. What we can also do too towards the end is run through some testing connections. So if you guys do want to get this wired out later today or at any time, we can run through some tests, see if we can get you squared away and get everything working properly.
Perfect. I seen somebody in the chat, Dr. Handwriting. Boy, I'm glad I didn't throw my whiteboard up there. Then it would have been worse.
No more
So
messages. Huh?
perfect. Okay, thank you very much. Oops, I jumped past one. Okay, we're going to jump in. Some of these slides we're going to go through fairly quickly. You have the presentation is available to you. Robbie's already linked it into the chat. If you want to download that real quickly, it's a PDF file. There it is again in the chat. For those of you watching this later on YouTube, everything we talk about here being linked into the chat will also be available in the YouTube description. All the links will be there for you to grab any of the files we're going to talk about. So perfect. Why Flagtronics, Cameron? Why what is the background? What about them?
Few different reasons, but their main reason is discrepancies between racers and governing bodies or series. The idea that we should all be on the same page when these flags are thrown, when they're seen and visualized. We're all able to track them accordingly and make sure that everything is being judged correctly and fairly. Also, nighttime racing, it's huge. If we're racing at night, a lot of the times, if lights are poor, things can't be seen. We can have an in-car system that is displayed and monitored by AiM, so we can have visual representations of this on track.
Yeah, which all turns into a safety question, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's communication and it's all miscommunication trying to solve that. But in reality, the downstream of that is safety and the drivers that are out there flying around like crazy and super busy and on the edge of control already are able to slow when they need to slow and understand what's happening. So
exactly.
Perfect. A little overview of the little system and how it works and how it integrates with AiM.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a GPS based recorder. It outputs via CAN, so we can connect very similarly to how we would with an ECU. CAN based communication with CAN high and CAN low. With the reciprocal protocol and the configuration, we'll be able to receive these signals. But in real time, a series or a track is able to send a code to these systems in the car to display a certain flag state. Those states are then transmitted and recorded by AiM, so we can monitor all of these flag states that are being sent to the drivers or actively being put out onto the track. So in real time, we'll be able to monitor all of these statuses that the Flagtronics is displaying.
Perfect. That's the technology. There's obviously the left picture there is one of the Flagtronics kits. There's a harness, a little display, and the GPS receiver, of course, power and CAN in and out, right? A lot of technology on their side we're not going to get into today. Obviously, they're the experts at that.
Absolutely.
We're just taking the flow of the data from the product and talk about the integration into the AiM side.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd really like to show how easy it can be to integrate these two products, how straightforward it could be, and show that it is possible if you have a CAN communicative AiM device that we can program it and or configure it and make sure that it's communicating properly.
Perfect. So let's do that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the hardware.
Perfect. So the Flagtronics itself, it outputs information via CAN. So like I was saying briefly just a little bit ago, the connection styles between these two units are going to be very similar to that of like an ECU. We would go ahead and connect to the CAN bus. And like I said, with the correct configuration and protocols, we'll be able to receive this information in. What you need to know about the hardware necessities themselves is we do need an AiM device that has a configurable CAN bus. So we're looking for an AiM device that has a ECU stream and or a CAN2 stream for us to connect to this system. One thing to note about the Flagtronics systems is you do need the CAN out harness. I believe most of the systems being purchased now are included with that harness. If you have one previously, you might have to reach out, but you do need the CAN out harness in order to make this work. And those you can know you have the CAN out harness if you look at the harness of the FT200 and you see a yellow and blue wire. Those are the CAN output wires, and that tells you you have the correct harness, and we can connect it to the AiM system and get it configured.
And when Cameron says reach out to the Flagtronics company,
Correct,
and
correct.
then or a dealer of them, and you can get it there. We do not supply that.
Yes, sir, but it is a necessity on the FT200 end in order for it to work with AiM.
Perfect. Okay, so now we get these pieces of hardware, and you mount it in the car to all the manufacturer specs on everything. Now we got to connect them. We got to get the output to come out, and we got to get the input to come into the AiM device. Let's talk a little bit about that output and that connection.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is very straightforward. Depending on the package you get, I believe the FT200 may have a connector already pinned out for the CAN high and CAN low wires. Often for Trans Am, I know it was a Deutsch 2-pin DTM connector. I think WRL might be using JST, but you should have a connector already on that output when you get it. And all we need to do is make a reciprocal input coming off of CAN high and CAN low off of the AiM harness and connect them physically. And that is as simple as that connection gets. We get CAN high to CAN high and CAN low to CAN low. Even if you wanted to use, aftermarket connectors, or you wanted to repin it yourself, absolutely possible. Whatever you need to do to make sure we are just physically connecting CAN high with CAN high and CAN low with CAN low. From there, we should be able to get the ball rolling on the configuration end and the software end to make sure everything's working properly.
Funny that Cameron did add that the CAN plus and CAN minus colors. You wish there would be at some point be some sort of a standard, but here we are, right? So the CAN minus on one is blue and the CAN plus on the other is blue, so it's not blue to blue,
Let
right?
me tell you, when I first started
so
wiring up the systems, I'm so
Of
AiM brain
course.
oriented
Exactly.
that blue is CAN low, right? And so when I went to go connect, I wasn't getting communication. Wow, sure enough, test the voltages. Blue is CAN high.
There you
So
go. There you go.
you learn these things out in the field.
And not a big deal. Luckily, it's not power, right? So it just didn't work. So you just swap
Exactly.
them around, and you're
Exactly.
and you're
But
off and running.
it is absolutely good to know, knowing that the wire colors to their position is good information.
And as the last link says, there's public information out there. Flagtronics is good enough about posting all that, makes it public for
Yes.
everybody, and the link will be in the chat.
And I will say that
has,
the public CAN information that Flagtronics gives is an absolute fantastic reference. We're going to be talking about it more when we are setting up shift lights and alarms, and we're running through testing connections. Knowing or looking at these output states to the correlating flag is going to be something that's really important when setting up some deeper configuration settings within what we can do with the Flagtronics.
Perfect. Let's go to the next one. Okay, there's a they have a piece of software. It's I've ran it a little bit here and did some things. It looks like it's nice. There is a configuration Flagtronics software. Chat a little bit about that and the basics of what has to be set up on that one, Cameron.
Yeah, so the Flagtronics Device Manager is a very straightforward software. You can see once you download it, it'll search for connection to the FT200. So once you power the system on and you download the software, you are good to plug the system in and communicate and configure it. This is a really straightforward process on the AiM end. You'll see once you connect that you're going to have a few different options on the software. You can update the unit's firmware. There are certain configurations that you can push. For AiM communication, but the most important thing we do is we go to the device setup and we edit the CAN settings. The CAN settings are what we need to change in order for this information to be sent to AiM. So once we physically connect the CAN bus and we configure it, you'll go to this FT200 configuration and you'll see the option, this auto send option. It by default is off. We need to enable that on. That allows the CAN output information to be sent from the FT200 to AiM so we can receive it. One thing to note too is the send rate. By default, it's 1 hertz per second. Or 1 hertz. If you want to up that, I've been doing 20 just to be safe, but that is preferable. If you want to change that, you can. But the most important thing to note is selecting the auto send on. Once you do that, you're going to go ahead and hit save right above the CAN baud rate there, and the unit will restart and these settings will save into it.
Great. Pretty simple, straightforward thing to set
Very
up the
straightforward.
Flagtronics side to come towards us.
Yeah, so if and you might have some questions on the Flagtronics end, it might be great to reach out on maybe some of the other settings, but in regards to connection to AiM, making sure we enable the auto send for CAN output, very important
And the auto send rate, if it is an option
as
to
well.
update it.
Correct.
I would hope that we would turn that up more than one sample per second, just
Yeah, it's
so we
just to be
see exactly
safe.
when that happens. 20
Like
is a good
timing can
number.
be, yeah, timing's important.
Okay. The next thing is, okay, now we get the data is in the CAN stream coming out of the Flagtronics. Now we got to get it into the AIM devices, and we're going
Yes,
to talk a
sir.
little bit about that part of it.
And this is where Italy has helped us out significantly in making this very user friendly for someone who might have the FT200 in a named device. It'll be very similar to configuring a dash to an ECU or another CAN communicative device. So you'll go ahead and you'll open up your Race Studio 3 software. Go ahead and head to configurations, the gear icon in the top left-hand corner. And then let's go ahead and open your existing dash configuration or data logger configuration, or make a new one. What we're going to do is go to the ECU stream or the CAN2 stream. You'll see the option under manufacturer for Flagtronics, and then under model FT200. So these have already been added to our software for ease of configuration to the devices. So all you would have to do is, whether you're connecting it to your CAN1 or ECU stream or your CAN2 stream, go ahead and preference that. And then from there, we've set the stream. So now the receiving protocol for the FT200 will be sent to the dash, and we can begin to receive those codes. And that is really important as well, making sure we select the FT200 in one of the streams. And then from there, we can start moving on to different parts of the configuration, like SmartyCam streams, displays, shift lights, and alarms. But we need to make sure we set up our CAN stream first.
Cameron, Keith asked in the question and answer box there,
Yeah.
can this work with Race Studio 2? Let's cover that a little bit, and then which AIM devices this can come into.
Copy that. So unfortunately, Race Studio 2 doesn't have the compatibility with this flagging system. It is a more recent development that we have added to the software. So I don't see it going to Race Studio 2 and the older legacy hardware that was previously out. That being said, newer systems, everything moving forward should have this compatibility. And then breaching onto what you asked, Roger, what systems should we have compatibility with? We need a configurable CAN stream. So Solo 2DLs, MXMs, EVO4Ss, they have a single CAN stream. They have an ECU stream. So we would have to utilize the FT200 on one of those CAN streams. Or if you are working with an EVO5, MX series dash, MXS, MXP, MXG, you're going to have two CAN streams to work with. You can preference whether you are going to put it on your CAN1 stream, reserve it for the CAN2 stream. You'll have an extra bus to work with. But the most important thing to note is we need a configurable CAN bus, something that we can tell the unit that the FT200 is going to be attached.
Okay, let's go to the next slide, and let's talk a little bit more about the configuration side and how to and some of the steps that may need to be done.
Yeah, so on the configuration end, making sure we set the ECU stream or the CAN2 stream, most important part in receiving information into the dash so we can record it. But you may have a SmartyCam 3, and this is where it kind of gets more fun, because we've allowed some updates to send this flag codes to our cameras as an overlay. So if you have a SmartyCam 3 series camera, you'll be able to connect it to your data system as you normally would through a 5 to 5 pin CAN patch cable, and we can now configure the dash in the camera to receive these codes. So once we've set up the ECU stream, we can go ahead and move to the SmartyCam stream. And a lot of you guys will be familiar with the default SmartyCam 2 and SmartyCam 3 streams, the list of options that we send over our bus to the cameras with preset options. For this specific type of compatibility, we need to set up an advanced stream and set up payload informations that send it to the camera. It might sound like a lot, but it is absolutely a straightforward topic or straightforward subject to go through. So all you would do is, in your configuration for the data system, go ahead and head to SmartyCam stream, select SmartyCam 3 and then advanced. And then you're going to see the option to add new payload. As an example, I set up an ID 0x452 with RPM, TPS, front brake going to the camera as well, because you're going to want to send more than just the flag state. You're going to have to emphasize the other channels that are going to the camera too. But if you wanted to send the flag code and have it visualized on the camera, we can send it on ID 0x453. And then bytes 0 and 1, we will set to the flag code channel that's in your ECU stream or CAN2 stream. And then it's as simple as that. We will go ahead and save the configuration, and we'll now be able to configure the camera to receive these overlays and have a visual effect of the flag state on the footage.
If you haven't worked with can streams and things like that, that was a brief view. It is easier than what it seems,
Yeah,
talking to somebody that is not super comfortable with it as well.
Mhm.
But what we will make available, obviously, from our side is, if you're seeing this and this feels a little confusing, or you're going to do this in the 3 months from now, give us a call. Ask for Cameron. We're going to have some information, his contact information at the end. He'd be happy to send you some information or chat with you real quickly to walk through these
Absolutely.
steps.
I'm happy to help anyone that would have any direct questions on how this
Yeah,
output should be set up. Using the example that I have pasted into the PowerPoint, it could look identical to that. You may need to add more IDs for more channels that you have, but in theory, it could look exactly like that, and you would get all of that information onto the camera. But like Roger said, if anyone has any direct questions, please feel free to reach out to myself, and I can help get this squared away.
in the chat, there's a couple of questions about SmartyCam 3 versus SmartyCam, the 2.2s and
It's a
2.1s.
great question. Great question. So similar with the legacy hardware in Race Studio 2, even though the SmartyCam 2 series are Race Studio 3 configurable, the overlays aren't added to those cameras. So the flag code overlay is going to be specific to the SmartyCam 3 series. I do want to note, though, if you were to have a SmartyCam 3, and a SmartyCam 2 that you wanted to run on the same bus, we can absolutely send information to both of those cameras without issue. But if you want the overlays on the camera footage, it has to be a SmartyCam 3 series.
Yeah, interesting that you and we have a lot of people that are doing this. They have a SmartyCam 2, 2.1, 2.2, and
Mhm.
they've added a 3. Well, the streams can be going to both, including the Flagtronics information. That just cannot be shown on
It
the
won't be
on the older
shown in the
cameras. So,
correct.
but it doesn't screw anything up. So you're still
But
getting
it
all the rest of the
correct. It is still a
graphical
broadcast. We
items.
can send advanced streams to a newer camera and still have our default streams sent to HD 2.1 or GP 2.2 without any issue.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. The next thing that's important is, now we've got this, they're talking together, right? We've got Flagtronics is sending it out, the camera and the and your AiM hardware is ready to receive it. Now we got to go into the software and create some alarms, some things to trigger and set these things to happen and be placed either into the data or into the data tracks,
Yes,
obviously.
sir.
So
Yeah.
so let's talk a little bit about setting up an alarm. That it's going to be as straightforward as all the alarms you've set up already, all of you that have done alarms in your Race Studio 3 software, except now you're going to use these codes that we're going to give you the list of the codes here in a little bit.
Correct.
And
That'll be linked into the webinar, and this is where those codes they become very important into the rest of the configuration, because we have to use these codes for the correlating flag states, so we set the alarms properly. So in this example that I've shown here, I've went ahead in the configuration of the MXS. You're going to go ahead and head to Shift Lights and Alarms. You can add new alarm, and then go ahead and set your channel description to the CAN stream for the flagging system or for the Flagtronics. So it'll be flag code equal to, and in my example, I have number 71. 71 is green flag. So if we were to connect to the FT200 and see the channel come across, it would come across as a number, and number 71 equals green flag. So that's where these codes and flag states are going to become very important. So I went ahead and said if flag code is equal to number 71, then trigger the following options: pop-up color message with green flag. I want the message to be green. I also want my LED to flash green, and I want a display measure that pops up on my entire dash with green. This is just an example. You might not want your dash to look like a Christmas tree, but you can work with these different alarm settings with the correlating flag color, so we can have a representation on the system, and then we can run tests using the flag codes linked to make sure it's working properly. and everything is going across the way that it
Yeah,
should.
you have, you may or may not want all of that stuff, but you have all of the same options
Correct.
in the
Correct.
alarms that we have for everything else. So
Yeah.
that's what we wanted to show here. Okay. Then let's talk about this connection and configuration to the SmartyCam 3.
Absolutely. Yeah. So once we save and we configure the dash, we can now configure one of your SmartyCam 3 series to show this overlay. So you're going to go ahead, just like you always would, go open up your configuration for your SmartyCam 3. We now have to make sure that we attach the CAN protocol that we saved from the dash configuration. And so it's a new feature in Race Studio 3 with the 3 series. We can attach that advanced protocol. So once I saved the dash configuration, this advanced protocol is now available for me to select under the CAN protocol tab in the SmartyCam config. So once we go ahead and we double click that, it'll set itself to the stream, and then we go back to overlays, and like you always have, set up your overlay stream to the channels that are being sent. So we can go ahead, and once we preference the CAN protocol, we'll go to the overlay tab and start to begin setting up our overlays, and I can point you to where the flagging system overlay is. But the most important part of the SmartyCam 3 dual configuration, or the SmartyCam 3 series configuration, I apologize, is making sure that we select the CAN protocol that we saved just previously for the configuration. And then we'll be able to select and get the channels going. So once you go ahead and do that, you can move over to overlays. And I think there's a picture in the next slide, Roger.
There you go.
Those. Yep, there we go here. So if you were to go from CAN protocol over to overlays, we can begin to set up our system. And as an example, I use the Trans Am overlay. It's common. And you'll see that under extras to the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see flag systems and then Flagtronics FT200. Just like you would with any one of our other overlays, you can drag and move that overlay anywhere you would like onto the screen. And then you'll see under channel groups that the CAN protocol links itself to the flag code, that this overlay is specific to this channel that we're sending from the dash. And it will allow us to see these codes in real time. Once you go ahead and get that set, we can transmit to the camera and begin testing and running tests to see if everything is coming across the bus the way that it should.
Pardon me. Okay, and oops, I went the wrong way. Oops, I went the right way. Let's see right there. Okay, I think, yeah, that's a different slide. So then you set up the alarms on
Correct. So
once
we finish the SmartyCam configuration and have that transmitted over, let's go ahead and set up alarms. And this could also be done while you're making your dash configuration. But in order to set up the alarms, I believe I was topping on this a little bit earlier. We could just go ahead and select the flag code channel from the CAN stream equal to whatever number we're seeing come across that bus. So I believe red flag is going to be code 82. If we see 82, then I want to have LED 1 continuously red. And there are other, and that is the path that we will take to set up the alarms for the different flagging codes. You might not want every flag to be shown on the dash, and that is something that the end users will have the configurability to do, to choose what you would like to be displayed. So using the codes that are sent over the CAN bus, we can then set the correlating flag colors in the alarms and have it shown for the driver in real time. So if the Flagtronics is hard to view, or you have anything about that display, you can set it to the dash and also use our hardware as a visual representation of what's being sent.
Perfect. Bruce has a question that we'll cover real quickly since we're here.
Yeah.
How can Flagtronics be displayed in Race Studio 3? And he goes on to say heat map, channel report, those kind of things. So he's talking about once the data gets in the analysis side.
Gotcha. So we see these flag codes in analysis as numbers, the same way we receive them to the dash in the live measures. They all come across as a number. So you'll see always at the start of the race, code 71 is what's sent to the systems. Green flag start. We can utilize this on the data end. I haven't gotten too deep into looking at the flag states themselves, but they absolutely are represented. If we wanted to create histograms, use them on sections of the track that create more or have higher flags thrown, you could absolutely use those in different ways to judge what parts of tracks have more flags and how can I use this to be better at the track.
Perfect. John Farmer asks, what's the maximum number of alarms that can fire LEDs? There is a limit, and it varies on different systems. PDMs have more and less, but do you have the number off the top of your head? At 36 comes to mind, if I remember right.
Yeah, I was thinking 26, but
Okay.
I could be wrong. So
Okay.
I don't have the number off the top of my head, but it's absolutely something I could test, John, and give you a more solidified answer there. Make sure that we're good to go.
There is a number, uh, and I know we bumped that up in the past, and maybe with this, it might be something we ought to consider with Italy bumping that up a little bit more again. But the keep in mind that status variables, math channels, all of those are included into that lump, right? That number. So if you have a lot of things happening, it just keeps taking up that number. So there is a limited space there. So you wouldn't want to throw every single alarm up into this, right? You'd just do the most important ones.
What? Yes, correct.
Okay. The testing of the connection. Let's talk a little bit of one of the things that everybody that preps needs to understand as you're getting ready to go to a race. You put in this technology. It sure would be nice to be able to test everything, make sure it works before you show up at the track, right? So we have that ability, and we're going to try to even display maybe a little bit of it here live here in a moment. But let's talk about testing that connection and making sure everything is working the way you expect.
Yeah, absolutely. So from my past experience, a lot of the wiring I've done has been at events in the pits when these systems are being used in real time. So I will help connect the CAN buses between the FT200 and the AiM device. And oftentimes the FT200 already has the last flag state that was shown from the series or the track, whatever was displayed previously. And a lot of the times I use that code to judge whether one potential way is I use that code to judge if the communication is coming across. So once I've configured the dash and the camera, I'll connect to both of them, and then I'll go ahead and look at that channel in the ECU stream or the CAN2 stream. More often than not, I will see the flag state that is seen, and that's one way that I confirm that it's working. Is I see the code that is actively on the FT200 being sent to the display, and then in return, I can look at the live view of the Smarty camera in connected devices and verify that the overlay is showing that correlating flag. We can also force these values ourselves and test and look. So if you're in an environment where you can't, force a flag to the FT200 display, what we could do is we can configure the dash, the camera, and the FT200, and then let's go ahead and connect to the dash in Race Studio 3 and force the channel values to the dash itself and look at the camera display to make sure that it's coming across. So we can force the message and check the camera to make sure that we see the correlating flag state and that information is being sent the way that it should. And I'm happy to do a real-time example of that, Roger. Really quickly, I can show everyone how
I
that would look.
I, Absolutely. I think we want to do that. Let's answer a quick question here
Yeah,
before we
absolutely.
get going. And then, and I think let me look. Yeah, the next slide. I'd actually like to talk about the next slide first, and then we'll go to the
Yeah.
live. John Barnum asks a question that I think is fantastic that we
Mhm.
need to make sure everybody understands. Green flag for start, he says. How instant is the LED light flashing or the display on the Flagtronics? Um, uh, do you want to depend on that, right? If you're gonna
No, so
exactly. Let's talk about
that
that a
is
little bit.
absolutely a great question. We don't want to rely on these alarms to be your driving force. We always want the driver to be aware. We always want the driver to be looking at flags that are being thrown. So it is something that we wouldn't want to put our entire weight into. It's absolutely a tool that we can use to judge different points on track, passing situations, things that you can use to verify that you're within the rules of what you're doing. But it's not something that I would use to judge takeoff and finish. We will get these messages and LEDs very quickly, but it might not be instantaneously as the message is sent from the control booth. And that's something to take into note. So being aware, always being aware is, I think, something that Flagtronics is pushing a lot of too. When I speak with them at the track, they always ask the drivers to be aware and not solely just focus on the display. That being said, the FT200 system itself receives the messages instantaneously from the control booth, and we can use supplemental information on the dash in support. But I wouldn't put the entire weight into it.
because the technology is obviously going to continue to evolve and get better, but right now it is still a human. There's still a human interface. So
Absolutely.
what happens? There's a button that has to be pushed, please help me. But as I was reading on their website,
Mhm.
corner workers have a box.
Yes, sir.
The main tower has a box, and they can push that button, and it might be a second late, it might be within a hundredth or two of the flag, right? So
Mhm.
there's always that human interaction. So
Yeah,
at the end of the
bandwidth
day,
is
you
always
really
a
got to keep your
question
eyes
and
open.
how the signals are being sent. So yeah, being aware is absolutely important. But like you said, Roger, that's exactly right. You know, your corner workers, they have control modules that allow you to send different flag states to posts all around the track, and then in return to the flagging systems inside the car. And all of that is controlled through the race control with the FT200 or series representatives that are Flagtronics representatives that are helping out on that end. But it is all sent remotely and tracked accordingly through our systems.
Yeah, once the technology starts somebody's pushing the button, then it is getting to you instantaneous. But there's
Mhm.
there's that
That
moment there that
use
is that can be
that
delayed.
is defined.
Yeah, a human is doing this, and you
Exactly.
think of it just as a high technology, high newer technology of the flag itself, right? If the corner worker was
Mhm.
delayed in throwing the yellow flag, of course the accident still happened, right? And the track is still
Yeah.
blocked.
And I think it's
So
great
you're always looking.
for memory recall as well. You know, after you get off a 35 lap session, you might not remember that lap 15 a yellow was thrown. And to have that representation in the data and the video as you're reviewing can help you look for what you need instead of filtering through information that might not be relevant due to a flag that was thrown. You're now aware of that, and you can use that information to your benefit.
Great. Okay, we've mentioned it a couple of times, and this list is available in some of the links that we've already provided, and from the Flagtronics website. But here is a list of uh, the information that's coming across that is available to us. Talk a little bit about that, Cameron, and what some of
Yeah.
those numbers mean.
Yeah, so these are all the displayed states, right? So if we're looking on the right-hand side of this chart, you'll see all the different flags that are going to be thrown from the FT200 system. On the left-hand side, you'll see that 16-bit integer row. Those are the messages that the AIM dash is receiving. So when we're connecting to the FT200 and we receive information across the bus, you will receive those numbers correlated to the flag that's thrown. So in my example, when green is sent to the FT200, we receive a code of 71. And I know that this code is specific to the green flag, so I can now set my alarms and test connections around the knowledge I have of the CAN data. And that's why I think utilizing this chart is going to be extremely useful for anyone who's going to want to set up shift lights and alarms and test their connections and make sure, dive a little bit deeper into the integration between the two devices. This chart is going to be, it's going to be very important. And we can utilize all of the different output states to the flags, uh, however it's preferenced by the end user.
Yeah, perfect. There is a good number of these displayed states.
And they might not all apply to your series either.
Absolutely,
And
is.
you might just have to pick and choose what's important for your track or your series. But there are a lot of options.
And we talked earlier about being a limit of 36, 37. I think Robbie helped me with in the
Yeah.
chat that those are just alarm states, right? So when you want to create an alarm, we can bring all of these into the AIM data file. We're just limited on the number of alarms we can make, and you don't want alarms for every one of these at all anyway,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
there's a
You need alarm space for other important engine parameters and driving
exactly.
parameters. So yeah, there's gonna be some picking and choosing.
Yeah,
But there's absolutely, multiple alarm states that we can send as well. So I think there's a lot of configurability for the end user to have a representation on a display, of this.
perfect. All right. And okay, so then um, what does the next thing that we ought to chat about? You want to do? Let me do a live on my screen first. Cameron, you get ready to do the
Yeah.
live connection. I want to bring up. We chatted about it, and I thought we did have a screen capture, but I thought let me bring up. This is the Flagtronics device manager software available through the link that we had there or from the Flagtronics website, obviously. I've got a Flagtronics sitting over here. This is how easy it is to, this is that software, and it's fairly straightforward. Remember, we, Cameron mentioned to go to device setup and walk me through that. It was at
Yeah,
general
so let's
settings,
go CAN settings.
CAN settings, that's where it was.
Yep. And then you're going to see the auto send by default is off. So let's go ahead and enable that on. And then you can see you can modify the auto send rate. So if you wanted that to be 2 hertz or 20 hertz, you can specify. And then all you have to do to set this to the flagging system is go ahead and hit the save file right above the CAN baud rate. Roger?
Yeah, right, to which is CAN baud,
Just to
right,
the left of that.
this
That
guy
one, yep,
right here.
that one right there.
Yeah.
And then you'll see save changes and restart device to the right.
Okay. And
Once you
on
click
back out.
that, you can physically connect the FT200 to an AiM device. Once the AiM device is properly configured, you will receive those codes across the bus.
Perfect. Perfect. It is sending it now. Okay. And I hear my computer dinging in the background. So
Mhm,
it just all
letting you
went.
know.
Yep, it went all went. Really that straightforward, everybody. So that pretty easy to set those settings to get the right data coming out towards all the AIM devices.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So let me minimize that out of the way, and let's talk about the connection into an AIM device and how to. One of the questions in the chat and one of the slides we had there was, okay, we've got it all connected. How do we double check this and make sure? So I'm gonna stop my share, and we will have Cameron share his screen,
Absolutely.
and we'll take a look at him walking through a process of getting it to show. Yeah, Robbie, that's not even funny, Robbie. He says, and Roger's computer crashes. Yeah, that's not good.
So as an example here, you can see I've highlighted the flag code and I'm not receiving anything. So let me go ahead and I'm going to send a message of 71 to the dash. And so now we see the code exactly how you would see it from the FT200 as 71. Now, if I was to check my SmartyCam live stream as a way to check, you can take a look and hey, I have a green flag. I know that I'm receiving the signal into, receiving the channel into my AIM master system correctly, and it's now being sent to the camera exactly how it should. You can absolutely test more if you'd like. You can force more flag codes to make sure it's coming across. But just by testing this, it should tell you that I'm connected it properly, I'm configured properly, and I will now get these flag states out on track.
Certainly, if one can item is coming through, the rest of them are, you still need to go in and adjust and check other things, but it would only be
Absolutely.
to make sure that you've got them laid out on your screen correctly, or in that,
Yes,
that
sir.
side of it. You quickly went through that. Go back to the live stream
Yeah, so
tab.
let me show you. So this
Let's
is an
talk about that.
ECU stream I have. And so if you were to set your FT200 to the ECU stream, you would see your flag code channel here under ECU channels in the live measures. If you were to set your FT200 to the CAN2 stream like I have in this example, you can scroll down to CAN2 channels and you'll see that flag code is the only channel right now that we're receiving from across the bus. And that's what we're utilizing to send these flag states to the camera or any other system that we could be connected to.
And also the other point of that is sometimes people don't realize this if they're fairly new at our software. When you get into this live measures area, you can click on any of those channels and
Absolutely,
put
and
it up into
force the
the upper
channel.
right corner there, highlighted in yellow. Makes it a little easier to see on the computer when you're sitting in the race car
Yeah,
or something.
I'm physically sending this channel across the CAN bus, so I'm not forcing it. But what I can do here too, like you were saying, Roger, is if I wanted to go ahead and click this gear icon and force channel value, I know that the dash is, or I know that red flag is 82. So if I was to just type in a code of 82 here, and I can't check my live stream, unfortunately, because it stops my forced value. But if I was to look at the camera, you'll see the red flag on its screen as a representation that it's working. So that's another way to test. If we're not receiving codes from the FT200 in real time, force the channel values like we did here,
There
and
you
then
go.
take a look at your camera, and you should see everything working properly.
That's the power that I wanted everybody to understand. That little
Absolutely.
gear icon, you can go in there and change
Yeah.
that value to any of those codes in that list that are coming
Correct.
across, and you should see the flag change or the display change as you've set it up. So
Yeah, it's really useful tool when it comes to testing connections is the option to use this forcing channel values.
and that not only works in this particular focused area of Flagtronics stuff, but if you were to go up to low oil pressure, you could actually put your oil pressure, your RPM to 5,000, your oil pressure to 28, and see on your display and on your camera anything that your alarms that
That
you've set.
isn't coming across yet
Yep.
properly.
Yeah, outside of the Flagtronics side, but
Absolutely.
that is a very, very powerful tool for in the garage, in the shop before you head to the track, to
Yeah.
walk through any
It's,
alarms you've set up, just to double
it's
check and
never fun to do it 5 minutes before you go out on
yeah.
track, but if you have the time to run through these testing connections and take a look at the payload information and the codes that are sent with the correlating flags, you should be able to give yourself in a short amount of time a perfect setup that gives you what you need and that is absolutely editable in the future. If you want to change things moving forward, you have that configurability. There's the way that we're receiving this information is incredibly robust. We can change the way that it's represented on the AiM system. We can even attach it to icons, and that's actually something I didn't touch on. But if you wanted to add an icon, a custom icon to your dash display, and put that in a bottom bar, we can link these codes to an icon and have an icon show green for a green flag, and it doesn't need to be a pop-up. We have the capabilities of kind of working around different capabilities.
Great, 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 great.
Let
Okay,
me stop sharing this for you, Roger.
there you
Get it
go.
back to your
And
hand.
let's take a look at a couple of questions as we or comments as we go, and then we'll start to close this one down. It's been very,
Okay.
very enjoyable. I've learned a lot
Yeah, a
myself.
lot of
So
fun. Can't wait for my next one.
Robbie has added in the chat box that the one real benefit can be, we also record this in the data, right? So we just showed you the
Absolutely.
video highlighting going. Of course, that's being recorded when that flag came on, with the view of you out the front of your car, back of your car, whatever. And but we're also recording that in the data. So when you can go back at any time afterwards and just for your own information, look at your data and figure out when did the flag come out, when did you lift, those kind of things.
You could use distancing and timing where you were on track in relation to when this flag was shown. Yeah, lots of useful things that you could use.
Yeah, timing, and of course the location with GPS. We can put ourselves right at the spot.
Right where we were when we received the signal. Yes, sir.
Exactly. Let's talk about one more thing, one more technical detail. You touched on it real briefly, but I want to just make sure we kind of cover it a little bit deeper.
Mhm.
AIM devices that have single CAN inputs versus
Correct.
two, right? We had CAN, and then we had the CAN to stream, and then
Yeah.
we have
So
some
for
units out there that only have one CAN
correct
input.
for
They're
our solo 2DL users and our
yeah,
EVO4S and
MXLs,
MXM users,
MXMs. We still
you
have
might
solutions for that, but they're going to be, we're going to have them chat with you
correct.
or something like that a little bit, right?
So the capability is absolutely there. We just need the CAN stream. A lot of the times we might run into conflictions between different CAN protocols, but that's something that is very unique and by basis that like we take those examples. So if you already have a unit with only a single CAN bus and it's already connected to an ECU stream, please reach out to me and I'm happy to work with you on what we can do to try and get those combined and get both systems going in or get both CAN outputs connected to the AIM device so we can receive the ECU stream and the Flagtronics under one protocol. But that is a little bit more tedious. There's some more end work that would need to be done. It is possible, but yeah, unique. So I'd recommend someone to reach out to me directly and we could work on that and see what we could do to get them taken care of.
One of the other things we chatted about is Trans Am is using this extensively, and
Correct.
the Spec MX5 is considering using it in their series in those cars. One of the things that we did chat about is the MX5 Spec MX5 cars use an OBD2 port. Getting that connection, you and I chatted a little bit yesterday about that we as AIM could create a create a file where that CAN wire comes out with a connector right from the OBD2 port, right? You get it.
Absolutely. The
Most of these
physical
guys are working
harnessing,
with.
yeah. So when it comes to the physical harnessing and connection styles between these units with a single CAN bus and the FT200, I have little concerns. I believe we'd be able to make any harness needed or any bridge needed to connect all three devices under a single bus. My hesitancies are respects to the protocols that are already existing on the unit. So we need to make sure that in respect to the ECU stream that has already been attached to this system, we're not going to change any of that with the addition of the Flagtronics information. And that's where, CAN can get a little bit hairy and tedious, but it's something that we work with. And, if we can make it happen with respect to existing protocols, we absolutely will. And, make sure that we can merge them, get them taken care of.
And once we do one, we can share that with it with any number of
Once
people after
once we
that.
do
So
one, then the rest is downhill.
easy, yeah, exactly. And
We're
and
going.
we're willing and able to do those things to help set that
Exactly.
up. So
Yeah. So something
okay,
that we're working on, and I've had success already merging a couple protocols with the FT200. So I know that it is possible, but we need to take in consideration the protocol that's being used, and take it from there.
I hope that answers your question, Ray, in the chat, connecting Solo 2DL, OBD2 and
Yeah,
Flagtronics
right.
at the same
That would
time.
apply
That is exactly
exactly,
what we just mentioned.
exactly
So
what we're talking about. Yeah.
perfect, perfect. The I think that's about it. Do you have any other questions that you've seen, Cameron, that we want to chat before we start to close this one
Uh,
out?
I saw a question earlier about AIM GPS integration into the
Okay,
FT200.
there you
I
go.
didn't
Let's
get the
chat about
chance
that.
to brief on it too much, but that's not something that, with conversations with Flagtronics and the way that our GPS information is captured, they're looking for some different functions that our GPSs wouldn't be able to provide for them. So they are separate, and it is something that, we've had discussions about and wished it could have been compatible on the GPS level. But with the direction they're moving with the GPS connection into the FT200, it's not something that we would be able to provide them. So unfortunately, it is two standalone GPS modules for the foreseeable future. Just to brush up on that question. And then
Great.
other than that, I'm extremely grateful you had me, Roger. I think this was great information, and a lot of people can reference back to this and use it moving forward, I hope.
Absolutely. That is the goal always of these
Yes, sir.
things, right? To make sure that we not only chat about it in the live webinar, but have a long lasting record of that, and folks can go back and
Exactly.
the YouTube page, which I'm showing information about our YouTube page is what I'm sharing right now. The interesting thing is you go to YouTube, AIM data, type that into the search box on YouTube if you haven't saved it. You'll be brought to our page, and there's a YouTube's done a pretty good job on their search bar. If you type in there some topic, Flagtronics or whatever it happens to be, it sorts them pretty quickly and brings up the video that you're after. And this video, like all the videos that we do, all the webinars that we do, will be up on YouTube very, very shortly, within an hour or two, however long it takes YouTube to help me render it and get it up there. That'll be available out there. We'll try to get some links out through the social media stuff as well to remind people that it was recorded and is out there. So always have lots of good help from folks that are helping us do that. So that will happen. All of our webinars are up there, the 233 of them and counting as we go. So look for those and go back and review any of the other webinars that we've had on there as
Absolutely.
well. The Cameron has mentioned it. He's a great example of what we do. Customer support is a big part of what we do here. We try to make ourselves as available as possible. We go to as many series as we can. Cameron covering the Trans Am series. So if you're a Trans Am racer and you're out there, make sure you look for Cameron. Give him a nice cold bottle of water every once in a while when he walks by.
Oh,
I'm sure he
I'd
would
appreciate
appreciate
it,
that.
man. I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're going into the summertime, and the AIM guys are
Lots of
out there
walking
walking
at the
around.
track, let me tell you.
Absolutely. And we're always happy to be able to stop by and talk and maybe grab a sip of water. So look for us while you're at the track if you're out there. If we can't be everywhere, so we've got an 800 number that you can ring to us and get right to us. So most of you have lots of email addresses that you can email as well. We really do take support seriously, and we're out there to help you get the best and the most out of your AIM investments. So make sure you do that. Contact information. Again, this is a fairly complex topic, at least from the outside looking in. From those of us that don't understand it fully, it's not as complex as you think. So we're here to help you if you have any sort of a problems. Cameron's email address is right down there at the bottom of the page. Drop him a note, thank him for being here if you wish, and start a conversation with him. He has a lot of this stuff saved already, can send it out to you, or if you have something that's a little bit odd, he's more than happy to help. So give
Absolutely.
us a buzz about that. My email address is there as well. We're doing these uh, webinars quite often here, obviously, and looking forward to doing that. So I think I did pass one by. The last one that I want to talk about is we always try to announce what our next webinar is going to be. Remember, we've changed our schedule a little bit on the webinars. We do we do these on Tuesdays, obviously, but every second, pardon me, every second Tuesday of the month, we do one in the evening here in the North American time, and we do one at the second Tuesday uh, of the month. We do them in the evenings, and then this one, of course, in the morning here in the States. So the next one is in a couple of weeks. It's going to be one of our evening ones, and so March 12th, Matt Romanowski here in the chat is gonna work with us and go back and take a review of sim racing data analysis, especially the way, bringing technology into from the sim systems and into AIM, and talk about some of that. Matt has recently got into sim racing pretty heavily and has jumped in with both feet, and he's learned any number of things and found some interesting ways of doing that. We'll talk obviously about getting the data in, and then some of the data analysis beyond that. So it will be a good time. So everybody join us on March 12th at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on the 12th. So oops, there we go. Again, contact information there on the screen. I appreciate it. Cameron, anything else you'd like to add as we kind of close this one up pretty much on time today?
Yeah, did a good job on the time there. No, I think we covered it. Like I said, if anyone, does have questions, always feel free to reach out and I'll absolutely see what I can do to make sure we're taken care of. But thank you everyone for tuning in and listening and giving us the attention. I'm hoping this plays forward.
Absolutely, with no doubt that it will. Again, appreciate it. These are always difficult because it's the first time we give it, the only time we give it, and getting the timing right is always difficult. So I'm very very happy. Cameron, I know, worked very hard to make sure we were as close to being on time. So you did a great job, Cameron.
No, I
Hopefully, we'll
appreciate
have
it.
you back joining us on another topic here soon. So
Yeah,
thanks
yeah.
everybody for coming. I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you all Tuesday on the next one on sim racing, and we will see you there. So thanks everybody, and talk to you next time.
Thank you
Bye bye.
guys.